Alright, so I'm going to be attempting to show how to open up and disassemble this Galaxy Book5 Pro 360/16. Alright, so this had some liquid spilled on it. We're going to see if we can pop it open and see how bad the damage is. Alright, so I don't really see anything on the bottom here, so if it's like most of these Samsung models, then there's going to be 4 screws hidden underneath these rubber pieces. The model number here, it's really tiny, but it's written down here, okay? It's NP960QHA, okay? So let's go ahead and see if we can remove the rubber feet. I'm going to just use my fingernails and try and get underneath, okay? And try and pry it up. It's going to be difficult, it seems, but I do feel like it will come out. There we go. Okay. So here you can see what the rubber piece looks like under there. It's pretty uniform all the way around, so there's no specific direction you need to put it in. And you can see it looks like there is a PH0 or JS0 screw, right? And my camera keeps like flipping all over the place. All right, anyways, let's go ahead and get the other 3 out. Okay, so same thing. I just used my fingernail at the corner. You can probably use some small pry tool or flathead screwdriver or something. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue getting these out. They're not easy to remove, okay? Jeez. I don't know here. Okay, there we go. And we'll get that out. Alright, so now that we got all of those out, we're going to switch, or sorry, we're going to grab a PH0, JS0 screwdriver. Okay, and then let's go ahead and remove the 4 screws. Alright. Get these 4 out. Okay. And hopefully the bottom cover will be easy to remove. I'm not sure. Since there's only 4 screws, I'm kind of thinking it's going to be very difficult to pop apart. But let's see. Alright, now that we got the 4 screws out, I'm going to try and do this. So usually what I do is I get my fingernails in the gap there, and then I'll push with my thumb on the back, and let's see if it'll pop out or not. No, it doesn't want to pop out at all. What about from the corner? Nothing. Actually, slightly. Okay, so I think what we got to do is go from the corner here, and then we're gonna push with our thumb on there and then pull here. Let's see if that works. Okay, now you can see, oh, I don't know if you can see, I got a gap to appear. So I got my fingernail under there. The problem is I don't know where all the clips are on here. So let's see, how are we gonna pop this? I'm gonna slide my fingernail underneath, and I'm gonna push on the outside edge while pulling up. I don't wanna pull on the speaker area here because sometimes it's weak, but it looks like that might be what we need to do, actually. Okay, that's working. So we'll continue going across just like this. Okay, go around the front here, just like that. Okay, and we'll just go around, so just like this. And maybe a suction cup will help. Let's give that a try. Okay, we got up most of the outside side edges. Okay, it does look like a suction cup helps. I don't know, towards the back, it's kind of difficult here. Huh, okay. So we got the sides and the whole front part up, but the back doesn't. Okay, there we go, actually. That's working. So suction cup will help quite a bit here. Let's see if we can get this one as well. This one's kind of being difficult. I don't know why. Come on. Huh. So I don't know why this one is being extra difficult, but it is. See it? Oh, there we go. Okay, now we got that. We're gonna carefully pull this away here. You can see we have a little gap forming here, but it's not really coming out. So let's see, we got both sides and then the corners back here. Let's see if I hold down here, and then I'm gonna kind of wiggle this cover, like pull it towards me. And no, that's not really doing anything. So there must be a whole bunch of like clips over here that are holding everything together. But I don't know. Let me try and get my... Okay, so get your finger underneath, push, and then push down the edge so it kind of bows the whole case like that. So I'm going to do that and push that, and that did unclip at least one portion over there. Let's try on this side. Okay. Kind of curve this. Oreo, what are you barking at? Nope. Doesn't seem to work. Let's try pulling the whole case down. No. Wow, this is going to be difficult, isn't it? Okay, I can kind of see in there. I'm going to try and pull on this edge a little, but it doesn't seem to want to come out easily. I don't know. I'm scared I'm going to break the clips and then it's going to be permanently stuck open. Let me see, how can I do this? I'm going to get my hand further in there, and then I'm going to try and bow this out. Huh. I don't know. It doesn't seem to want to come apart here. Oh, there we go. Okay. So hopefully the clips are all okay. Here you can see what it looks like on the inside. Okay. Set that aside, and here you can see what the inside of the computer looks like. Let me set this down and then get a screenshot here. Okay. And then, Oreo, shh. And then I'm going to have my customer take a look real quick. Oh, I have a customer. I'll be back. All right, I'm back. Let's go ahead and continue taking this thing apart and see if we can fix it. The customer said that they spilled some alcohol on it, and the only issue is that it's not charging properly. So it looks like we only need to take off this portion. This other board here can stay. All right, so let's go ahead and start taking things out. All right. Okay, so we got the fan and the heatsink and everything here. I don't know if I got a thumbnail here, so I should have done that first. Okay, sorry about that. There we go. Okay, let's zoom in. Let's start taking out screws. Well, first let's go ahead and remove the battery. The battery is a little bit difficult because there's not much slack here. Let's see if removing or disconnecting the battery not disconnecting, but undoing the screws first will help so that we can get underneath. All right, let's get all these screws out. Again, keep them all in order. Okay, got one on that edge or corner, and then we got 3 down here, and then another one up here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get all those out. The screws do seem to be about the same size, but either way, it's a good idea to keep the screws in order. Okay. Alright. I don't think any cables are wrapped on top of the battery, so I think we should be okay. Let's see if we can lift it up. Okay, yes, we can lift it from the back here. So just get underneath and lift it like this. We're gonna go with our finger to the edge or the back of the connector here. And let me see if I can zoom in to show you this closer. Okay, so now that we're underneath the connector with one finger, we're gonna use the other one on top and help to pull it. You wanna pull it straight up, and there we go. Came out pretty easily. Okay, so is there a battery model number on here for you guys? Here you go. So battery model number's right there, AA-PBKN4MR, all right? I don't know if there's any other special numbers there, but that's battery model number, okay? Just in case, I'll show the whole thing. All right, you can see 73.9 watt hours, 4,762 milliamp hours. Excuse me. All right, we'll set that aside, and let's zoom back out again so you can see underneath, at least part of it. Here you can see the touchpad connector there. Not really much under here, okay? But you can get to the touchpad connector. All right, let's start undoing screws here. Oops, need to zoom in more. Okay, we'll start undoing screws to pull everything out. I'm assuming we're gonna have to take this out. This looks like it's holding the heatsink down, okay? Again, I like to keep all the screws in the pattern I remove them, so that way I can put them back later in the exact same spot. That screw that I just took out is shorter than the others, as well as that one. So it looks like the motherboard screws start getting shorter, okay? So we got those two. We're gonna now move over to this side, and we're gonna start removing these. I'm gonna avoid removing the heatsink ones. I hope I don't actually have to remove those, because I don't wanna have to redo the thermal paste on it. We'll go ahead and remove this. All right, I try and avoid doing the thermal paste unless there's a known like heat issue. The customer isn't having a heat issue, so we're gonna leave that. All right, there's another screw here. Jeez, that one's tight. Make sure if you're removing these that you push the screw down or the screwdriver down hard. I don't know if these are actually holding the motherboard down, but they do put little arrows pointing to it. They must have some pretty tall posts there holding, going into this little area if the screw is holding the motherboard. That's interesting. All right, we'll get the fan screw over here out. Okay, lots of screws. There's another one down here. That one wasn't too bad. Okay. All right, we got the wireless antennas here. To remove those, you go from the tail. I like to use both fingers. You can use a little pry tool or whatever, or tweezers. Go from the tail, and then you just pull straight up. It seems like it's a little bit stuck, so you gotta be careful. Let's actually remove the gray one first, okay? Because it's routed through this little clip, okay? And then we'll remove the black one. Okay. We are going to have to unroute all these, or undo all these clips. So let's go ahead and undo this clip here. Okay, and we can leave the other ones because we're just gonna remove that. All right, the white one or the gray one, we need to unclip all the way down. Okay, so unclip all these. There we go, and we'll set this aside. Okay. All right, we got this connector here. The sub goes to the sub board, the main goes to the main board, or motherboard, logic board, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and there's a flip latch there. Once you flip that up, you can get underneath this little clear flap, and you can kind of pull it back. You might have to pull it up slightly because the wings. Okay, so wow, it's holding in there tight. So there we go. Oh, I think it's not holding tight. It's just that there's not much slack here, so it was really hard to pull back. But you do need to pull it up slightly like that and then pull it back. Don't just pull it straight because the little wings here get caught. Actually, the wings shouldn't get caught, but I don't know. It seemed like it was. All right, we got those screws. Let's see what's next. There's another screw up here. Let's go ahead and remove that one. Okay. Then we got another screw down here. Oh, let's get the fan screw. So there's 3 in this somewhat line, not really in the same line. Okay, then we got the one down here. We got this one here. I don't think we need to remove the SSD, but let's go ahead and remove it anyways. Oops, sorry. It's an M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD. It looks like they have some solder area here to solder on one of those metal cages, but they didn't do that. That's nice. Sometimes they use one that's like a clip. All right, that screw is also different. The screw that was holding this, the top is a bit wider and also shorter the threads, so make sure you don't put that in the wrong spot. All right, let's see. We got another fan screw here. Oops, hopefully you can see. There we go. And then another motherboard screw up here. Oh, one thing I didn't mention, after disconnecting the battery, you want to open up the laptop and then press and hold the power button for at least 15 seconds to drain any residual power. And that's actually, oops, let me zoom out. It's actually attached to this board, so we'd actually have to reconnect this to be able to, for the power button to work. Sorry for mixing you guys up. I should have mentioned this earlier. Okay. All right, let's get this guy back in. Wow, this connector is difficult to get in. There we go. All right, keep that in mind. Oops, I think I was out of view. That connector is pretty difficult to get in. Anyways, hold the power button for about 15 seconds. You can hold it longer. The reason I'm holding this is because I have to disconnect the LCD LVDS connector, and usually that has some pretty high voltage that can arc across. So yeah, you want to do that to drain any power from the capacitors and things like that. All right, now that we've done that, let's go ahead and disconnect this again. Oh, you can see now we can actually lift the board up. So, yeah. Okay, yeah, this connector you don't really have to lift up to pull back, but the slack, there's so little of it that you have to kind of bend this downwards to be able to pull it back. All right, so we got that. Let's go ahead and disconnect the touchpad trackpad connector. There's a flip latch there. There's this blue thing you can kind of grab and pull it back. Okay, sorry, I know my hand's in the way when I was doing that, but it is what it is. All right. The fan, I think the fans are attached. Oh, they're not attached. Okay. So the fans aren't attached to the motherboard, but somehow it's like stuck. Okay, is it just like sticky? All right, so let's actually disconnect the fans. You can actually remove the fans. You can actually remove the fans without taking the whole motherboard out, it seems. Actually, where's the latch? Okay, it looks like the latch is on this side. Yep, so there's the latch. And then we should be able to, you can get underneath the brown little tab. It's hard to grab it. You can use like tweezers maybe. But there we go. Okay, disconnect that. And then we should be able to get this out. Yeah, so you can get the fan out just by taking the 3 screws that hold it in place. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that on the other fan as well. Okay, same thing. There's the flip latch on that side. And then you can go ahead, or you should be able to, I'm assuming. Yep, lift that and kind of wiggle and pull that, or pull the brown tab. I think it's easier to pull the brown tab if you can get under there. Come on. Or get your finger underneath and then use both fingers to pinch it like that and pull that out. Yeah, that's easiest. Flip those latches down, make sure so you don't accidentally snap them off. Let's see, what else do we got? All right, we got the LCD LVDS connector here. Flip that latch up. Again, very important that you drain the power before doing this. All right, and then, oh, they have a tab here as well. That's nice. Usually these don't have a tab. And, okay, you got the keyboard connector here. Flip that latch. Then this one you actually have to lift up slightly to pull back. So lift up slightly, pull that out. Okay. Jeez, come on. There we go. And then we got to get these last few screws out. Okay. I believe those are the last few screws we need to remove. So they said they spilled their alcohol along the side here, and if I didn't already mention it, their issue is with charging, or at least that's what they told me. So they said it has problems charging. Sometimes it will charge, sometimes it won't, and it'll just turn on whenever it wants. And then they said that it charges slowly when it does charge, so it doesn't even charge the full speed. Alright, so I believe those are all the screws we need to remove to get the board out. Let's zoom out here. Okay, a bit more. Go, maybe more. Okay, so next we're going to get underneath this piece, okay? And we're going to lift it. You want to be careful because there are all these cables that are on top. You got to move them out of the way. Oh, there's one more connector here. I'm trying to figure out how this connector is connected in place. So that's the speaker cable. I believe it's held in with a flip latch this way. So get underneath this way, and yeah, you can see I popped it up very easily. Okay. There we go. I think that's all the cables. The hard part will be when we put the motherboard back, that we need to make sure all these cables end up back on top. Let's unroute this a little bit just so we can have this cable out of the way easier. Okay. So the keyboard and the touchpad and the speaker and the wireless cable are gonna try and go in the way. So we'll get underneath. We'll carefully lift this up. Oops, I missed one screw here. Don't miss that one. There's one more. This is for the heatsink. Okay. Put that guy out of the way. There we go. Now we'll lift the whole thing up. Okay, so like that. Hold the cables out of the way, and we'll carefully remove this. And from what I'm seeing, I don't know if you can see that, it's all crusty there and there and there. and there. But it looks like that's as far as the liquid went. So if they're lucky, I can clean out this whole thing. I'm going to use some warm water and just clean off. You can see all this crusty stuff there and on these. Okay, so I'm going to try and use some warm water. Maybe I'll just get a bowl of warm water and just dip this whole end in there. I'll use a toothbrush to kind of brush off, dissolve all that gunk off from inside here, here, and all of that. It looks like the rest of the board is okay. So if you want to see what the other side of the motherboard, logic board looks like, here's what it looks like. Okay. Of course, you want to make sure that you're grounded. You don't want static electricity to damage this thing. Okay. But yeah, as far as I'm seeing, all the liquid is there. So let me see. I'm going to try and clean up this area as well. You can see there's all that gunk in there. And to do that, I'm just going to use a piece of paper towel and some water. You can use distilled water, although if you're doing it because you're thinking, well, there's no impurities in it and pure water doesn't conduct electricity, you're right. But once you start wiping this stuff, you're getting impurities in the water. Okay, so you don't really need to use distilled water, although I do have a bottle of distilled water. The reason I'm using that is because I got it to water a Venus flytrap a long time ago and those died, so I'm like, might as well just use it for this. Okay, but you don't really need distilled water, but don't be using like salt water or something in here. Okay, you like tap water is fine. You can use bottled water if you want to, but you don't need specifically distilled water. Just make sure it's dry when you're done so that it doesn't conduct electricity into places it shouldn't. Okay, that's the main thing you need to worry about. Don't leave it all wet when you reconnect it. Even if it's distilled water, don't leave it wet. Even if it's like isopropyl alcohol, don't leave it wet. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna now clean a little bit into these holes as well, just because we don't want to leave any of those impurities in there. All right, so there we go. I'm gonna go clean up the motherboard, logic board. You can see on this side it's pretty simple to remove as well. This connector here, let me see if I can show you this. This connector has a little tab here that you would use to pull up. So you would hold down the board and you would just pull this up and it should pop out. I'm kind of scared here because it's hard to pull it up. Huh. I'm gonna get underneath with my fingernail and help pop it. There we go. Okay, and yeah, there you go. So it just pops in like that. But yeah, these connectors, I don't know why they're always difficult to just pull straight up. I always have to like help it up with like my fingernail. You can use plastic pry tools, but you want to be careful that you're not jabbing it into there. You're just barely lifting the outer edge, right? There's the power button fingerprint reader kind of deal going on here. It just pops up like that, and then you have to just get it lined up and push it back down. It's kind of interesting that they just leave it like this, because a lot of times if somebody were to drop this, sometimes the vibration will pop it up, but I'm assuming they thought if you dropped it, you'd probably break something else anyways. And then you got another little connector here. Most likely this is the keyboard backlight connector with a flip latch there. Okay, and then obviously that's another speaker. If I didn't already mention, that's the right speaker. It says the right, even though it's on the left, because when you flip the computer over, obviously it's gonna be on the right. And then you got the wireless antenna. These are giant antennas. I rarely see antennas this ginormous on laptops. Pretty interesting. Okay, obviously this is the left speaker and left antenna. Okay, so touchpad does not look removable from the back. Keyboard, it looks like there's screws all down here. I don't see any screws holding the touchpad in place, so I don't know how it's held in, if it's just adhesive or what. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, the keyboard, I only see screws around the frame unless there's screws underneath the adhesive here. I do see screws along the side as well. So the keyboard should be removable and replaceable without having to like use glue, I hope, unless they have plastic tabs underneath. So anyways, let me clean up the logic board. I'll be back. All right, I'm back. So we cleaned all of this off. Let me see if I can show you here. Okay, you can see it kind of left some etching on the metal because it's slightly acidic, I believe. I don't know. And yeah, but you can see all the most of the gunky stuff is gone. Okay, and I cleaned inside as well. You can kind of see the pins in there. I don't know if you can see the pins in the USB-C ports. They're so tiny. It won't even focus, huh? Yeah, it's not going to focus on it. Anyways, we got to reassemble this. So I used warm water, cleaned it all out, and then I used a powerful electric air blower to dry it off. Everything looks good now. Okay, if you're doing this on your own and you don't have that strong of an air dryer thing, just dry it the best you can, and then you might want to wait a day or two before putting it back together. But yeah, I also used a toothbrush to kind of like scrub off the gunk, and then after I dried it, I used the toothbrush to kind of like scrub it a little bit more just to make sure. So you can use like a toothbrush, kind of scrub this. Keep in mind that this is holding all of it together, so you want to kind of hold it here if you can to kind of give it a little more strength, so when you brush it, you're not pushing all the weight onto that small area. Okay, so we're just going to use this one more time to kind of like dry it. This is a different toothbrush than I used the first time. Okay, again, you want to make sure that you're grounded so that you don't cause static electricity to build up and then destroy the thing. Okay, so the tricky part, again, you want to make sure all these cables are up and out of the way, and this needs to go in at an angle. So we're going to hold up the keyboard cable first, okay, and we're going to slide this over here. All right, make sure the antenna ends up back on top, that it doesn't go underneath. All right, and we're gonna just slowly, carefully lower this down. Make sure, again, the touchpad cable is on top. Okay, make sure this wireless antenna is on top. Make sure this cable is on top. And then you can lower it down. Make sure everything stayed on top. Oh, and the thing I didn't show is, yes, underneath here is like a little hole for these little silver screw mount things to go up. So yeah, all right. So that way, those also make sure that the board is all lined up. Okay, so once you drop it in, you can see it doesn't really wiggle anywhere because those raised screw mounts. Okay, so this had a little bit of gunk on it. Let me try and clean that a tiny bit. I don't know if it's just scraped or if it's actually some residue of some sort. So I'm gonna try and wipe that off because it had like some matte finish there. Oh, it doesn't come out, so I guess it's just scraped or something. Interesting. The back end looks okay, so it should be fine. Okay, let's go ahead now and reassemble this thing. So before I forget, there was the one screw up here. Let's go ahead and put that one first. Okay, there we go. We can go ahead, I'm going to zoom in here to try and show you guys everything. So let's go ahead and reconnect this cable first. Line that up, push that into the little routing area. Make sure this latch goes up, and then we'll get this cable in. Again, it goes in slightly at an angle downwards. That way these little wings can go past the raised bumps. Once you get that, just slide your finger over to latch it down. All right, make sure the wire goes all routed properly. Okay, let's go ahead and get all these screws back in. So we have one up here. Okay, don't over tighten it. You want to tighten it till it stops and then twist a little bit more. Don't tighten it too hard because you don't want to crack the board. Okay, that one. We got this one here. Also make sure all the cables are outside. Nothing is underneath the board when you put all these screws back in. Okay, so there we go. We got that side down. Next, we have one up here. Get that in. Okay, we have the cables. Let's go ahead and reattach these. Keyboard cable. Make sure the latch is flipped up. Okay, and then I'm gonna pull this back. There we go, and make sure the wings go past the raised white portions. Once you do that, just slide your finger over to latch it down. All right, then the speaker connector down here, just line it up and click that down. Okay, it helps to push the back portion in first and then push the front. Same way, like basically the opposite of how we lifted it up from here, okay? Now we got the touchpad trackpad connector. Make sure that goes in. So flip that latch up. It's a little tricky. I just flex it like that. Okay, and then there we go. Get the little wings past the white portion and then flip that latch down. All right, and then the tricky one, flip this up and we're gonna bend this one downwards like that. Okay, and we lift this portion up and you can see that helps it go in. This is the easier way. You don't have to do it this way, but you can see it made it easier for this to go in. You can use this tab to help pull it, and then we just flip that latch down. All right, I'm gonna double check this side because it looks like it might have came out a tiny bit, but no, it's good. All right, here we go. What's next? We got the wireless antennas. So the black one went first. Not that you have to keep it the same way, but this way. Okay. And then we'll line this up and then click it down. You want to be careful when you put these wireless antennas. The way you know they're in or in the right spot is it won't move around, okay? So if you want, we can go ahead and connect this first, okay? So you can see if we were moving it around, it moves easily, but once you get it on the circle, okay, you can see it kind of gets caught there. So that's how you know when it's lined up. So once you get it hooked on, okay, come on. You don't want to like force it down, okay? Once it gets hooked, you can see if I pull it lightly, it's staying, like when I'm holding it like right on top. All right, then we can go ahead and push the whole thing down. All right, you want to do it that way because if you just try and eyeball it and then push it down, there's a good chance you're gonna bend the connector and then you're not gonna be able to put it back together. All right, so we'll get this one in, push that, this one, push that down, over here, push that down, over here, push that down, and then the last one here, push that down. All right, so here we go. Here is the fan. Let's go ahead and get that in. Make sure that the latch is up. Again, it's from the back side here. And let's make sure this doesn't have any gross stuff on it since the liquid spill happened over there. So we'll now get this in. It's gonna be a little tricky. Okay, you have to have it slightly up when you go to push this in. It doesn't rest completely flat down, okay? So now that we got that, I'm gonna hold it in and then slide that latch down. Okay, we'll do the other fan over here. Same thing, there's the latch, make sure to lift it up. And if you're wondering, these fans are different, so make sure that you're not trying to flip them around. One, the cable's going more this way, one is going more down, and also the screws. This one has 2 on this side and 1 on this side. The other one has 2 on this side and 1 on the other side. All right, so let's go ahead now and get this cable in. Wiggle it around. Okay, and then slide the latch down, drop that into place. All right, let's continue getting these screws back in. I think we got all the wires in. Okay, so next one we have is for the fan here. I like to kind of pull the fan up to the heatsink, but in this case there's not much wiggle room, so you don't really need to do that. Right, let's go ahead and get the SSD in. So this goes in at an angle here, and then push that in. I like to push both sides so that way all the force isn't just ripping the connector off the board. Again, you want to use the wider top screw here for the SSD. Okay, don't mix them up. There we go. Okay, now we got these screws for the fan and the board. Put this guy in. Then we got the board screw. It looks like most of the board and fan screws are about the same if you mixed them up, but the battery screws and the bottom screws are slightly longer, so alright, keep that in mind. Okay, got another screw here for the fan. Then we got the next motherboard screw. I'm gonna get my USB-C battery pack to plug it in and see how it works, because I wanna, that lets me see how much amperage and voltage is going through, and then hopefully I'll be able to tell if it's working properly. Okay, so we got that. Let's see, and then we got this screw over here. Okay, and we got the screw for the board here. This other screw for the board here. And we got this fan screw here. Alright, we got the heatsink and fan screw here. And that's pretty much as far as those screws go. Let's go ahead and get the battery back in. Okay, you do want to double check the connectors one more time just to make sure everything is in, that you didn't leave anything disconnected or loose. Okay, I think everything should be good. So let's go ahead and get the battery back in. Okay, battery connector was the easy one, so let's zoom out here. Okay, and let's go ahead and grab the battery. So battery should be easy now that we're pushing it back down. Lifting it up is the hard part. So battery just drops in, very nice and easy. Let's go ahead and get the screws in first so there's less risk if we were to drop a screw on there or something. Okay. And then let's see, should we put the bottom cover back on first? The bottom cover was pretty difficult to pop on, so let me leave the bottom cover off and then plug it in and see what happens, just to see if it powers up okay. They do have all these little spring things. I'm not quite sure what those are for. If anybody knows, let me know, because I see a lot of computers with these spring parts here, like, sorry, these brass or golden looking things that contact the bottom of the case, but I'm not sure if they do anything. Maybe it grounds the computer extra. All right, so there we go. Okay, let me go grab my battery pack and I'll be back. All right, I'm back. Let's go ahead and reconnect the battery first. Okay, so the battery connector, you just line it up. These wings line up with the little gaps there, and then you just click it down. Very simple, okay? Let's go ahead and flip it over now. Okay, and let's zoom out here. And then, okay, and then let's plug it in and see what the charge looks like. So here's my battery pack. We're gonna go ahead and plug this in and let's see what we get. Okay, so it's doing, or it was charging, and then it just stopped. So that has me worried that the USB-C board is toast, or the USB-C port is toast. Plugged it in the second one, nothing happened. Let's try flipping the cable over and see if there's any difference. Okay, see, it goes and then it just stops. So yeah, that's not good. let's go ahead and open up the computer and see if anything happens at all. Can we power it up? No, it doesn't even power on. Nothing happens at all. Nothing at all. So it looks like we might be out of luck here. Like nothing happens, it just stops charging. Let's try a MacBook charger just to see if there's any difference. The charge light doesn't come on, so I doubt anything is going to happen. Yeah. Sadly, it looks like it's toast. I'm gonna see if my partner can figure out anything here with this, but sadly it looks like it's dead. Let's get the bottom cover on just to see if there's any difference. We'll get the bottom cover on, drain the power real quick. All right, let's go ahead and pop this back up if we can. I'm gonna use one of these little plasticky tools to get underneath and pry it up. Okay. Look at that. We're gonna go ahead and drain the power again. Everything is on there properly, so yeah, most likely when he plugged it in here with liquid, he fried all of those ports. Especially if he plugged it in with his charger, and then his charger got some liquid inside, and then he plugged it in the other ones, then it probably fried the others. I don't know why they don't put liquid detection on these kinds of computers, because they put liquid protection on all the phones. So I don't know why they can't just spend a little extra to do that on these. All right, let's see what happens if we do it without the battery connected. I'm curious. So we'll leave that there. Nope, it just flashes and then dies. Okay, this one's pulling a little bit. Nope, and then it dies. Let's flip it. Nope, it dies. Okay, well, let's hold it 15 seconds, put the battery back in, and then get the bottom cover on and see if that changes anything. I doubt it, but we'll try. Okay, let's go ahead and get the battery connector back on. And now let's put the bottom cover back on and see if we're lucky. I doubt it. I doubt that's gonna do anything. All right, let's get this line back up. And then just click everything back down. Okay, careful with these. Okay. And if you're wondering, I push in as I push down to make sure the clips go in without too much force. All right. And there we go. There's also clips in the middle that clicked in. All right. So now we got all of that. Let's go ahead and get all the screws and everything back in, because if this doesn't work, then it's pretty much toast. But let's see here. Alright, and yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Hopefully this video helped you guys out. Again, if it did, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. And if it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Right? If you can't help out that way, it would help a lot if you can watch a few of my other videos and then like and comment on those as well, because that's what the algorithm likes to see. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I just noticed something here. There's this little groove. I'm not sure which way it was facing before. I'm gonna face it towards the top, but I'm assuming that groove is there so you can get underneath with a pry tool to get them out. All right, but you saw I didn't even need any of that. I just got my fingernails under there. So the back ones don't actually have those grooves, so maybe not. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so the ones without the grooves are for the one near the hinge, and then the one with the grooves are for the ones towards the opening. All right, so there we go. Let's flip this over, plug it in, and see if there's any change. I doubt it, but why not? Let's give it a try. Okay, so we got this. Let's plug this guy in. Nope. It just goes for a little bit and then it gives up. Alright, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, hopefully it helped. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Alright, let's drop this spike.